Good afternoon. Just a reminder, tomorrow is the 27th of November. It is American Thanksgiving. I think Canadians already celebrated Thanksgiving, but given that we are based here in the US, tomorrow is a public holiday. The headquarters will be closed. We will not be briefing. On Friday, the 28th, there will not be a in-person briefing as well, though the office will be open during hours in the morning and will always reachable in case of emergency. We will post updates online around noon. Just looking forward to December 1st. After the briefing at 1 p.m., there'll be a briefing by Ambassador Samuel Bogar, permanent representative of Slovenia to the UN and president of the Security Council for the winter month of December. He'll be here to brief you on the program of work. It will be an in-person briefing only. You'll be obviously be able to follow it on UN Web TV, but you will not. The Zoom link will not be active for that briefing. I have been asked this morning by a number of you about the situation in Guinea-Bissau, and I can tell you that obviously the Secretary General is following the situation with deep concern. He appeals to all national stakeholders in Guinea-Bissau to exercise restraint and respect the rule of law. The Secretary General will continue to closely follow the situation in the country as it unfolds. I also have a statement on the passing of our late colleague David Malone, and I can tell you that the Secretary General is deeply saddened by the passing of David Malone. His decade of service as Rector of the United Nations University marked the culmination of a distinguished career devoted to international cooperation and scholarship. Under his leadership, UN University strengthened its role as a center for policy-relevant research, advanced gender parity, and forged trusted partnership across the United Nations system. His vision and dedication contributed significantly to initiatives such as Our Common Agenda and to advancing digital transformation in the developing world. Mr. Malone's legacy will endure as an inspiration to all who worked for a more just and sustainable future. The Secretary General extends his heartfelt condolences to his family and friends and colleagues, and just that I add my own personal condolences to David, who was a dear friend. Turning to Sudan, some of you have also been asking me about the activities of the Secretary General's personal envoy, Ramtam Lamamra. I can tell you that Mr. Lamamra is preparing to travel to Port Sudan and Addis Ababa next week. He's been in regular contact with the parties and continues to encourage them to engage in a genuine dialogue to advance peace. He's also working closely with regional partners, including the African Union, Intergovernmental Authority on Development, otherwise known as IGAD, and the League of Arab States. The urgent need for better protection of civilians in Sudan is and will be at the forefront of all his discussions. Our humanitarian colleagues also continue to call for safe and unimpeded access to deliver assistance to people in need across Sudan, including Kordofan and Darfur. On the ground, the situation in El Fasher remains dire. Our colleagues at the World Food Programme are currently supporting families who have fled to 5 areas surrounding El Fasher, including Tawila. Distributions is also ongoing for families who've arrived in a more distant location like Daba in northern state, even as far as Khartoum. Currently, 1,485 metric tons of food and nutrition supplies, enough for about 130,000 people, are en route to Tawila via the Daba crossing in northern state. This is in addition to the regular support that WFP has been providing to people who fled El Fasher or Zamzam earlier this year. Meanwhile, fighting continues to drive large-scale displacement in the Kordofan areas. And our colleagues with the International Organization for Migration tell us that on Tuesday in South Kordofan State, more than 1,800 people were displaced across multiple localities, and in North Kordofan, heightened insecurity there uprooted nearly 40,000 people from different parts of the state between the 25th and the 18th of 25th of October and the 18th of November. Despite the escalating hostilities and access to challengers, humanitarians are doing everything they can to support people in need across Kordofan. In North Kordofan, the OCHA-managed Sudan Humanitarian Fund has released more than $5 million to support 4 international NGOs who are providing critical services, including health, nutrition, water and sanitation and hygiene, as well as food production, shelter, and protection. Throughout the Kordofan region this year, the Sudan Humanitarian Fund has allotted $33 million to support projects that reach some 1.6 million people in the hardest hit areas. We continue to encourage donors to step up their contribution as needs deepen. The year is nearly over, and the $4.2 billion humanitarian appeal was just over a third funded, with only $1.4 billion in the bank. And just south of there, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, our colleagues at the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs are raising the alarm over the rapidly deteriorating situation in South Kivu province, particularly in Fizi and Mwenga territories. OCHA's latest access report shows that persistent fighting among armed groups and restrictions during the second and third quarters of 2025 have severely limited humanitarian access or made it impossible in some places. This includes the localities of Minembwe and Itombwe, as well as Au Plateau area. Since May, those areas have faced near total isolation due to severe restrictions imposed by armed groups, including the closure of key roads linking the locality of Fizi to Minembwe and the denial of access to humanitarian organizations. Reported threats have also forced a number of NGOs to withdraw from the areas. As you can imagine, the impact of these restrictions on civilians has been devastating. In the locality of Minembwe alone, more than 170,000 displaced human beings are cut off from essential services. The health system is struggling to cope with prolonged medicine shortages, and in Minembwe Hospital, children accounted for 60% of all deaths between July and September of this year. That's 25 children. And the mortality rate for severe acute malnutrition has reached nearly 30%. OCHA says the food and security situation is also deteriorating rapidly. Road blockages have caused the price of basic staples to skyrocket. Sugar prices have increased sixfold, and the cost of cassava flour has more than tripled since January of this year. Our partners have prepositioned supplies, including medicines, nutrition kits in neighboring towns, but they cannot be delivered due to the lack of access, due to the insecurity. We, of course, call on all parties to urgently protect civilians and ensure safe, unhindered humanitarian access so that life-saving aid can reach those who are trapped by violence. Turning to Ukraine, our colleagues from UNICEF tell us that more than 340 educational facilities have been damaged or destroyed this year alone in Ukraine. This brings the total number of schools damaged or destroyed to 2,800 since February 2022. Our colleagues note that these numbers only include UN-verified incidents, so the true number is likely higher. Protecting schools and children's rights to education is not optional during war. It is imperative. Our UNICEF colleagues say that in Ukraine, 4.6 million children currently face educational barriers. UNICEF's response, alongside that of the government and local partners, has enabled more than 500,000 children to access inclusive formal and non-formal education, including in-person safe learning, which helps them catch up on lost learning through remedial education. And turning to Gaza, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that hostilities continue in parts of the Gaza Strip, resulting in reported casualties and disruptions to aid operations. Yesterday, we and our partners coordinated with Israeli authorities 8 humanitarian movements inside Gaza. While one movement was facilitated, the 7 others were either impeded, denied, or canceled. Despite these challenges, we managed to collect more than 200 pallets of medicines and 5 tankers of fuel from the Karim Shalom Karim Abu Salam crossing, along with additional tents from the Kisufim crossing. Every delivery into Gaza makes a significant difference. As you know, not a single hospital in Gaza is fully functional, and only half of the hospitals, only 18 out of 36 hospitals, are partially operational. On Monday, teams from the World Health Organization facilitated the medical evacuation of 33 Palestinians in need of critical attention and over 100 companions. However, there are still more than 16,500 patients who need to receive medical care outside of Gaza. WHO continues to call for the safe access through all evacuation routes, particularly through the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, and for medical evacuation convoys to be expedited at crossings. Meanwhile, our colleagues at UNRWA continue to provide learning activities. As of Sunday, the agency is running nearly 350 temporary learning spaces across 64 shelters in Gaza, providing in-person learning for more than 47,000 boys and girls. Humanitarians also continue to deliver critical support, and we once again call for unimpeded humanitarian access so that teams can reach everyone they need. We and our partners can do much more as soon as restrictions on relief items and aid groups are lifted. And just today to mark, for those of you who bike or take public transportation, today is World Sustainable Transport Day, or even walk. A reminder that the road to a better future starts with a cleaner and greener ways to get around, and that helps reduce pollution. Sustainable transport can be simple as taking a bus or a train to work, opting to walk or cycle, or using an electric or hybrid vehicle. Small choices add up to a healthy planet. We have money, which means we have a quiz. This country has won all 4 of its Olympic medals in one sport. And that sport has only been an Olympic sport since 2016. One country, 4 medals, one sport, relatively new sport in the Olympics. Well, you have to, I mean, you know, guessing the sport will help you figure out what country we're talking about. We have an online guesser, your colleague Rami, who guesses curling, which is wrong. It's a winter sport, exactly, summer sport. And curling's been around for a long time. All right, it's a sport played on a field with a ball, but only since 2016. On a field with a ball.
Like the soccer, but with less.
You're getting there.
Like beach.
What?
Beach.
No, not golf. No. Sorry, not pickleball. No, not pickleball. It's an oval ball. No, badminton does not have an oval ball. Yes, okay, what kind of rugby?
13 or 7.
Sevens, exactly. So which country has won? It's only Olympic medals. It's all been in 4. You're getting close. Fiji. Fiji has won all 4 of its Olympic medals in rugby sevens. We thank you to our friends in Suva for their payments to the regular budget. And that was a good quiz from our quizmeister, David Hunter. All right. You can quiz me now, or not, and we can all go home and eat turkey. Yes, Deji.
You just mentioned about Sudan. We know that RSF announced a unilateral ceasefire, which actually the Sudan armed force, they didn't follow. So how's the ceasefire going? I don't believe you mentioned that.
I don't think it's going, because we've seen reports of fighting, including RSF.
So it's just an announcement, there's no ceasefire.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, this was raised yesterday. We obviously welcome any announcement of a ceasefire, but the proof is in the pudding.
Okay. Another subject which is totally irrelevant. In Australia, they will implement a social media ban for people under 16 since 10th of December. What is the position of the Secretary General on social media and the ban?
The Secretary, we don't have I would say, position on social media ban. I think it is important for governments to take actions that reflect the will of the people. It is absolutely incumbent on tech companies and on social media companies to do much more to protect children from harm. And I think we noted yesterday, I think in the presentation on violence against women, the high number of violent rhetoric that we see on social media.
Will you limit the time of your children on social media?
My children are way past
I mean,
accepting any authority
if
from
it's
me.
under 16.
They're
if
no
they're-
longer under 16, and I cannot go back in
So
time.
there's no hypothetical.
No. Okay. Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ray. I'm from 21st Century Business Herald, Guangdong, China. So as you just mentioned, tomorrow marks the Thanksgiving holiday, a time traditionally dedicated to gratitude and reflection. So on this occasion, who or what would the United Nations like to express its thanks to? Would you like to acknowledge any specific countries, partners, or even individuals that have made a lot of contributions this year?
I think we are grateful for the continued passion that we see people across the world fighting for peace, fighting for justice, and fighting for human rights. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Dujarric. Mona from Al-Quds Al-Arabi. I have two questions, please. The first one is on the environment and children's health in Gaza. Recent UN reports are showing that Gaza's waste and wastewater systems have collapsed. So what steps is the UN taking to protect children from pollution-related health risks? And how is this environmental dimension being integrated into the humanitarian response?
Well, the issue of wastewater hygiene is very much part of our overall humanitarian approach. We are seeing, especially with the recent rains, right, an increase in floodwaters, an increase in the risk in the movements of contaminated water, which poses obvious risks to people. It also poses risks to countries beyond Gaza, right? Because especially once it flows into the Mediterranean. We are trying to do whatever we can to repair the systems. The problem, and one of the many problems, is that the equipment that is needed is not being allowed in to Gaza, but it is something our colleagues on the ground in Gaza are very much focused on.
Can I add a question, please?
Of course.
Thank you. A British doctor yesterday reported difficulties in bringing baby formula into hospitals. Can you give us any updates on humanitarian access, especially to babies?
No, I don't have any specific update on that, but you could check with the World Health Organization, or we can see if we can get something in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. See y'all on Monday.